fam, I'm sure you've probably been seeing the hashtag justice for Ochanya trending, and you're probably wondering what's the full story. You've been hearing bits and pieces and you want to connect the dots. Well, today on Latest TV, I will be telling you the full story of a girl who passed away at just 13 years old, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Let's dive right in. I'm your host Benita, and on this week of Weekly Curiosity, where we dive right into the questions of why, when, who, how it happened, we will be talking about the story of Ochanya. Now stay with me, because by the end of this video you would know the full story. So who's Ochanya? Her full name, Ochanya Elizabeth Ogbanje, is a bright child, according to neighbors, who grew up in a community that didn't have schools. She's from Benue State, right? But the community she was currently growing up in with her parents didn't have a school, and the only school they had prior had just shut down. So her mother decided to send her to live with her auntie in Makurdi, where she could school and continue her education, because she showed brilliance, she showed intellect, and she really wanted to be a doctor. So they were very focused on her education. So she lived with her auntie, where she attended the Federal Girls College, Boko, in Makurdi State, Benue. We can't dispute the fact that this is something that happens in many homes in Nigeria, where parents who cannot cater fully for their children for one reason or the other. It may not even be financial reasons, like some people would just conclude, because the parents could provide financially, because sources tell us that the parents were still responsible for her school fees and every other financial needs that she met. They just needed her to be in a place where she could easily access schools. So that's when it gets scary, right? It's not because you cannot provide financially, but just the situation pushed you to have your child live with someone else. Now, living with her auntie was where the tragic story started, because while staying with her auntie, Ochanya was constantly assaulted sexually by her uncle and his son for a long period of time. This led her to develop many conditions, one of them being Vivia vesico-vagina fistula, a condition that makes her unable to hold her pee. She passed away eventually at the age of 13 after a series of hospital treatment, abuse, because her young body could no longer take the pain again. May her soul rest in peace. After she passed on and the public was made aware of her case, there was a public protest that led to the state government saying that there was a prima facie case against the lecturer, which is the auntie's husband. But in 2022, he was acquitted because apparently, or according to the court, the prosecution failed to be able to present enough evidence to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. So the lecturer was acquitted while the son remained at large. The aunt, however, was arraigned and arrested for 6 months for negligence. Only for negligence, because the child had passed under her care, and not necessarily for the direct abuse, which means that in total the court still doesn't believe that these people sexually abused Ochanya or raped her in a way. And so what does that mean? That her perpetrators are still running at large. So what do we have? Basically, a young girl loses her life after years of abuse, emotional trauma, mental trauma, the family going through so many stages of grief, and the culprits walking free in the streets, with the system coming online to drop unreasonable quotes and tweets that still leads back to the story in such a way that there's a mockery of the death of the young girl. The brother going around having the best time of his life on TikTok, on social media, having great friends, and the lecturer walking free, while the life of the little girl was cut short. What does that tell us about the system? So now, why bring this up? Because the hashtag justice for Ochanya isn't just about one girl. It isn't just about getting justice for Ochanya. It symbolizes so much and is larger than life. It symbolizes how vulnerable children, especially young girls, are failed by the system they are supposed to trust. Schools, extended families, churches, guardians, and even the legal system. These are mechanisms that are supposed to be placed to keep these children and protect them. Do you know that according to UNICEF, less than 5% of rape cases in Nigeria ever end up in persecution? So what is the message that we're trying to pass across to the predictors? We are saying, do you know what? You may actually get away with this. Try because you are safe. Try because you can be one of those 95% who don't even end up being persecuted for the wrongdoings that you have done. And what are we telling the victims? Keep your mouth shut because you will just be a story and you don't even get justice. No, that's terrible. What are we, or what kind of society would we be if we keep letting this happen? Which is why the hashtag Justice for Ochanya that is currently trending right now in the year 2025 is not something you should see and scroll past for any reasons. Repost, reshare, lend your voice, join the protests, do whatever you can to help push this message out there so that little children, little girls, little boys, whoever has been raped or sexually assaulted in one form or the other can get justice. So, if there's one thing you can take away in this video, let it be this: that each of us has a responsibility to listen, to care, to act, to speak up, to be part and parcel of this movement. Because when we say hashtag Justice for Ochanya, we are saying that we will not let her story fade into silence. So if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could like, share, subscribe, and hit that follow button so you don't miss any of our weekly subscriptions. I remain your host, Benny, and I will see you next week.